To Apple dropping an absolute bomb on Twitter yesterday that not only has season 2 of Monarch been approved, but multiple spin-offs have also been approved.
Yes.
But they didn't really give any details on what
They
the
didn't give a
spin-offs
number
were.
on the spin-offs. No.
So I don't want to get too spoilery on Monarch. We haven't covered it on the show yet. We have both watched it. But if you do see that tweet, they show Kong on the picture.
And that's the last thing you see in the season of Monarch.
That's the last thing you see in Monarch. I don't think it's a big spoiler because he's right here. So we know that Kong exists.
And they show him at the beginning too. I mean, they're on Skull Island. Is how
they're on Skull Island. He's the first kaiju you see. I think, or the big ant, the big spider guy is the first kaiju you see. But I think that there's a possibility that maybe, if Legendary's running all this, maybe they're just like, hey, we don't like the way Netflix is doing this. We're just gonna put season 2 over on.
Hey, that would be interesting
Apple.
if they did. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but the thing
I don't know what the contracts are like.
Yeah, my thought is that maybe like Apple, like Netflix, maybe that they were sitting around like, let's see how this movie does, and it's taking the box office 2 weeks in a row. I'm not sure what the numbers for this week look like.
Yeah, that Civil War movie looks like it might edge it out, but
is that out this week?
I think it's this weekend.
Oh,
Civil
and then
War's coming out.
That Henry Cavill movie, that Ungentlemanly or whatever.
Is it the Argyle one? I heard that was awful.
No, not the Argyle one. There's another one coming out in theaters. I don't know what it's called. It's got him, Alan Richardson. It looks pretty good. One of the guys at work mentioned it. I'm like, I've never heard of this movie. And then I watched the trailer. I'm like, oh, this actually looks like a really good movie. Yeah, it's like I think it takes place during the World War II or something like that. I don't know the details on that one, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people online that are like, oh, I hope they continue the Monsterverse. I'm like, all signs are pointing that Godzilla Kong was a massive success.
Yeah,
Monarch was clearly good enough for Apple to approve multiple shows.
Monarch was a massive success. I mean, I had seen the fan base was extremely divided on that one, and it was not receiving it.
So I waited for the show. I didn't watch. I waited for it to all be out before I watched it, and as I was seeing people's reactions on Twitter when it was coming out, it was like around episode 3 or 4 I stopped hearing negative things about it. I loved it throughout. I thought that the characters and the story was incredibly compelling.
Yes.
And I'm a guy that's like, I don't need too much Godzilla in my Godzilla content. The human characters are very, very important. At least in my opinion. He's just there to drive plot and do cool stuff.
It's so funny because like when it comes to these movies, you have the fans that are like 2014 is the be all end all for the Monsterverse movies. It's the best one. And then you have the other side of the fan base that were like, there was no Godzilla in that movie. What the hell? Like,
I didn't like the cutaways from the fights.
Yes.
I thought it was a good template of this is what an American Godzilla movie could be. I don't think that movie was perfect by any means.
Yeah. And then you have the other people that are like, we need good human characters. That's one thing that the Monsterverse has not been fantastic with.
I think until we got to this movie.
And I really enjoyed the characters for this movie, but there were some things that people were kind of like to. And, but I think Monarch, absolute fantastic set of human characters. The only one that I could say that was kind of like with the writing was May.
I think that she just needs more.
I think she needs more backstory. But I thought the cast was all great. May, the actress, she did a fantastic job with the character, but the story on her just needs a little more.
Yeah, I think we need. I think we're gonna get it this season, especially with the way it ended. I think we're gonna get it this season because they kind of showed why she did what she did with her former employer, but they didn't like. At least I didn't feel like they fully explained it because I thought it was very like there was something missing. I felt with that.
Yeah, Yeah. And, I thought the core cast was great. Of course, everybody loved the flashback cast or whatever. They were great. And what I loved about this is that it's for one of the first times we're getting to see people from the Skull Island movie. We sure it was just John Goodman, but we got his past self prior to Skull Island in there. I really was kind of hoping that we would see more of the Skull Island crew. I'm hoping we see
We might
some of
see
those guys
future versions
trickle.
of them.
Yes, I want to see Tom Hiddleston's version or Brie Larson's future self, past self, whatever. Just that was such like a great cast. Whereas even John C. Reilly, his character when he got home, what happened with him? Like he was just like, yeah, I was on an island of monsters and I'm just gonna like just chill in retirement. What? You think Monarch's really gonna allow that? At that point, Monarch was fully going, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Monarch was Monarch then, and you see what Monarch is now. You really think they're just gonna let that guy sit at home? I don't think so.
Yeah.
The dude lived with Kong.
I think in the second season we're probably going to see the decline. If we do get flashbacks, which I think we will, I think we might see like the decline of Bill Randa from turning to Durs to to John Goodman over the course of like 12-ish years.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to see more of that. We got to see what happens to him.
They heavily imply that he took a dark spiral.
Yeah.
After after what happened. Again, don't want to get super spoilery on the show, but like, it's like a 12-year gap from when something big happens in his life to him dying on Skull Island.
Yeah. And the character looks completely different.
Yeah, so clearly, like, he spiraled a bit.
Yeah.
Everyone refers to him as a kook and a crazy man.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that's not really the character you saw on the show.
No, not at all.
Because we don't get to see that time gap of what happened.
Yeah. And sure, there was not a ton of monsters in it, but they had some new ones. I mean, the bat, I can't think of its name now, was really cool.
It was like some type of dragon.
Oh yes,
that was called. But it was like in like the Philippines. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, the Gauss look-alike. Yeah, they had some cool monsters. The mole thing in the Arctic that froze everything. I mean, some cool stuff, cool concepts. They haven't touched on the Axis Mundi plane in the movies, which I thought we might see in this, but that's another crazy cool concept that involves like time moving very fast.
Yeah.
But we won't go too into that now. But I'm excited to see what Apple has for us. I hope Netflix is bringing back Skull Island, or somebody is. I would really be cool seeing Apple do an animated show. I'm not too familiar with Apple's animated lineup though. If they're into that, I know
I think
Netflix
they have a
really
couple former Pixar people.
All right.
And former Blue Sky people, because they put out that like Lucky Cat animated movie, and I think they have a lot of former Pixar and Blue Sky employees.
All right.
So they're capable of doing CGI stuff. I don't know about their regular animation, but regular animation doesn't really exist anymore. It's just CG that looks like it's drawn.
Yeah.
We're
gonna make it look drawn.
Yeah, I mean, that's why people, with the people complain about X-Men 97, and they're like, why don't these characters look the same? And it's like, nobody knows how to make cartoons like they did in the 90s anymore. That's why. They were trying to make computer-generated images look like they were hand-drawn. That's why it looks like the way it looks, because nobody knows how to do cell animation like that anymore. All those people retired.
I mean, a little off topic here, but I think the next series that's really going to nail that animation is going to be the Batman series that HBO's got coming, because it's bringing back Bruce Timm from the original animated Batman series from the 90s that we grew up with. So I think that might be like the series where everyone goes, "Wow, like this is."
Yeah, it's
animation.
definitely possible. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. The HBO might be like, "We don't have time for that. We want you to just crank this thing out." But
Yeah, you know, that's like the one good thing I feel like that Legendary has over like other franchises is because it's a franchise that's not owned by one of the giant conglomerates, so they can kind of like piece out like, oh, you guys make this and you guys make that and you guys produce this, and it's the series that's kind of like all over the place, so it's a lot of stuff can come out at once.
yeah,
There's a lot of projects in the work instead of them just
where,
focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah, which is where the fans win because we get all this content. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's been fun content. I enjoyed Monarch. I know a lot of people did not. I don't know what everyone's looking for, but I don't know.
I think there's a lot of people looking for a lot of different things, and you're just not going to get that with Godzilla. I'm sorry. Nobody's in agreement on what they like about Godzilla.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then there's people like us. I guess you could call us the super fans that are in the middle. They just consume.
I'm just
it
happy
all
I'm getting stuff.
Yeah, and enjoy it. Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna call out garbage when I see garbage, but for the most part, I'm just happy with what I'm getting.
Yeah. So far, it's been great. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And yeah, I guess we're gonna transition over to our next story.